The school board meeting will begin in 1 minute. Please take your seats. Again, the school board meeting will begin in 1 minute.
The June 23rd, 2020 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. Ms. King, can you give us our statement?
I sure can. We are the Marion County Leadership Team. If we chose one word to describe us, it would be student-centered, because student success is our mission. When we come together to work, we are efficient, effective, and relevant. Our three most important characteristics are dedicated, diverse, and dynamic. To work well together, we must demonstrate respect, confront reality, and clarify expectations, and get better. We do not accept excuses. We will not accept mediocrity. We will always put students first, and we will leave a legacy of success.
Thank you, Ms. King. For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I'm requesting everyone in the audience to please turn off your electronic devices or put them on vibrate.
You were just
Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located on the table in the hallway. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully complete and received by the board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are in a separate sheet. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mrs. Nancy Stacy, District 1.
Here.
Mrs. Beth McCall, District 2.
Here.
Mrs. Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Mrs. Nancy Thrower, District 4.
Here.
Mr. Eric Cummings, District 3.
Here.
Dr. Heidi Mayer, Superintendent.
Here.
Ms. Suzanne Green, School Board Attorney.
Here.
Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I recommend approval of the agenda for the June 23rd, 2020 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet. Those materials distributed to board members at the meeting and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting, with the exception of the following items which are under discussion. D22.1, cooperative agreement between the Florida Department of Education and the School Board of Marion County for Fiddler's Springs Associates Center. C10.14, Second Amendment to agreement with Renaissance Learning for Accelerated Reader, AR, for individual schools for school year 2020-2021, and C10.15, Third Amendment to agreement with Renaissance Learning for Mayon.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. King,
Second.
seconded by Ms. McCall. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the April 14th, 2020 special board meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Ms. King. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? There being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the April 14th, 2020 school board meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. King,
Second.
seconded by Ms. McCall. Seconded by Ms. Call. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? There being none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
I'll now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing persons who wish to address the school board tonight.
In compliance with Section 286.0114 Florida statute, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who wish to speak at tonight's meeting, either regarding one of tonight's agenda items or a matter related to the operations of the school district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school board and school district matters. A written summary of these procedures is available from the table in the hallway. Public speaker forms are also located on the same table. The completed forms are due to the school board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. Tonight's speakers will be called prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in the order of receipt by the school board secretary. Before you begin speaking, please state your full name and address for the record and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes of time. However, if there are more than 5 persons who wish to speak, the board may seek consensus to limit each speaker's time to 3 minutes. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice to complete his or her comments. Speakers may not yield their time to others. Speakers and meeting attendees are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Therefore, verbal attacks and profanity are strictly prohibited. Procedures for public comments, item 6, speakers are not to identify specific individuals other than themselves or their child unless the statement is provided 24 hours in advance. If there are matters dealing with student discipline to include expulsions, they will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of the meeting. Parents may address the board with regard to a discipline matter at that time. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's first or last name. Identifying, reference to, or identification of other students and their families is prohibited. Thank you.
Ms. Martinez-Lopez, how many speakers do we have?
We have 5.
Guys, we have 5 speakers, so you guys are good with that. All right, our very first one.
Mrs. Yvette Johnson.
Greetings, in the name of my Lord and my Savior, Jesus Christ. It has been my heart's desire before the end of the elective term of the
Johnson,
current,
Ms. Johnson, you gotta give us your name, your address.
I'm sorry,
Restart it for me, Kevin, please.
She won't give address.
She,
No address, just name.
okay, just your name, you don't have to give your address.
my name is Yvette Johnson, Johnson. It is my desire to have come address the school board and the current superintendent and the deputy superintendent publicly before the end of their elective term to discuss the pain and suffering they have added to my life. It has taken me up to this time frame to gather the courage and the strength to respond to the injustice, pain, and prudence that I expressed after reading the investigative report that was released. Since the public humiliation that took place in August of this school year, I have been hospitalized, placed on 2 additional blood pressure medications, and currently attending counsel. The injustice that has recently rocked our nation with the death of George Floyd has empowered me to not remain in silence regarding the false statements that were made throughout this investigation regarding me. Being silent since this report has been released has sent a silent message that was inaccurate. Being silent has allowed the injustice to be swept under the foundation of over 60 years of racial injustice to my race of people, to rise from a foundation that is constantly judged by color and not content of characterization is a constant stumbling block throughout the entire world that often disguises our level of educational achievements and accolades. To have experienced something so traumatic and have that very thing that you empower yourself not to allow to dictate your past or oppress your future has now created an emotional pain that has ripped a hole in my soul. My character and my legacy was tarnished by the heads of this school district and several others that gathered together in secrecy and developed a strategic plan that was developed by personal feelings and a strong passion to prove their plan would be successful regardless by any means necessary. I have been rated highly effective for the last 5 years. My entire career has been dedicated to using all of my God-given gifts to touch the lives of any child that I've encountered on campus or within our community. I am the teacher that organized and facilitated the first responder ceremony at Emerald Shores that impacted every participant in attendance. I am the teacher that you had held hands with and wept with at the Purple Heart ceremony at Emerald Shores Elementary School. I am also the Teacher of the Year for Evergreen 2018-29 that you held up the ceremony to ask me where you remembered me from. I'm also the teacher that had the group of students representing Evergreen during the MLK Parade celebration that you walked away from and refused to watch to perform. A group of 85% of girls that were at-risk students that had behaviors that had decreased significantly. I am also the teacher that found and sponsored for a club that would have enriched the lives of 15 participants, including 80% of at-risk children, called Tap for Excellence at Evergreen, whose dreams and talents were placed back in the abyss by selfish political motivations. The leadership of an organization, school district, or government system, state, or nation should be held by the highest level of honesty and integrity. There's a quote that says, if the head is corrupt, then so is the whole body. I want to acknowledge that after I spoke out at the school board meeting in August, it was a blessing to know that none of you others were aware of what took place on that dreadful day. In fact, the current superintendent and the deputy superintendent, the law enforcement guy that I will never forget, who unbuckled his weapon on that day, and I presented no threat to him, were all innocent people in that dreadful day. In fact, several spoke out against the injustice that took place that day. One said that they didn't realize that we were all minorities. A statement made by the superintendent to the deputy superintendent, you're being too nice to them. What did that mean? Who is them? Has convinced me that it was all racially motivated by the deputy superintendent and the superintendent, including the entire administration team and the librarian and the reading coach, which made a total of 17 black people were transferred away from elementary school, Evergreen Elementary. That also included putting 2 of the most dedicated administrators in our district behind desks, dismantling their careers of serving at-risk social and economically disadvantaged students. The defamation of my character and the seeds of lies told on me throughout the investigative report, misguided pieces of a script for character assassination that was all over the place with untrue statements. In fact, there isn't a person present that was in that interrogation room or on that campus can support any statement that was made against me. There was absolutely no unethical behavior displayed by me. I have walked in my integrity and have principles that have balanced my life after a horrible and painful past. My motives have always been proper because of that pain. A huge portion of my pride, integrity, and dignity was taken away that day. In fact, for the first time in my life of being a woman of color, I can relate to how a fictional story filled with tangled and veiled lies has placed so many of my innocent brothers behind prison bars because of a group of people abusing their authority and powers.
Johnson, wrap it up.
In closing, I'm trying extremely hard not to think of those 14 students whose lives would have been enriched by a newly discovered talent and escaped from some difficult realities, because I'm still grieving the loss tremendously. It is my prayer and prayer of many others that one day soon we will all meet again in a courtroom where I will get the opportunity to speak the truth and face everyone hidden within the content of that report. We know in effect that Evergreen has lost 50% or greater of its staff from this year, And that speaks volumes. Removing so many dedicated people from those children presented a visual to the community that they now can see. I am now know that it is responsible, that the personnel there is responsible for those dedicated people leaving that school. A school that was filled with diversity, and not because of the children, but because of those in charge. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker.
Mrs. Marsha King.
My name is Marsha King, Marshaking. I need to say my address? No. So I know there's a lot of weird stuff going on lately. I came tonight to basically show my appreciation for Dr. Mayer. I just have a little something I wanted to say, and a presentation. When you were elected, parents and teachers alike voted for the promise of changes we desperately needed in our Marion County Public Schools. I personally voted for someone I didn't really know much about based on a recommendation from several people I knew and trusted their political view of things. I believed in the things they said they wanted to accomplish, and I was hopeful of changes to come. Considering the previous administration, I felt anything would have been better. I wanted to see someone in place who loved what the art of teaching is. You not only loved the opportunity teaching gave to us to share the world with our children, but you truly loved our students and wanted them to succeed. I wanted to see a person who would meet the problem of challenges, in education and bullying head on and attempt to eradicate them from our schools. I believe you tried to do that, and together we were able to share crucial information with families of resources available to them in their time of need by allowing opportunities to reach our community members through several venues. That's appreciated. Little did I realize the roots ran much deeper than frustrated students. You did not allow that to deter you from your mission. Over the years, I have learned many things from you. One of those valuable things was patience and how to put distance between myself and toxic people. And that knowing who you are and whose you are is so much more important than knowing who other people think you are. For that, I'm forever grateful. Now, let me get to this. Excuse me. Over the years, I've witnessed you reward those who have gone above and beyond in their roles as students, teachers, and administrators, and even giving honor to local veterans in our community. Whether it was the Superintendent Coins, the Golden Apple Awards, Special Veteran Parking Placards, or Student Reading Awards, you were excited and filled with joy to present them. After this past year, with all of the challenges we have faced between the stressful situations, between Marion Military Academy closing to all the COVID-19 things, plus, and the implementation of distance learning in each of our school districts, I wanted to thank you for not only helping establish an awesome option to all the students at MMA and all the hard work it took to pull off all of this in such a short time, but for your positive encouragement to all our students and parents throughout this entire pandemic, as well as the entire time you have held this office. So in an effort to show appreciation for all you have done, I wanted to take this opportunity to present you with a token of appreciation from my family and others, personally, for all the help you have extended to us, as well as others who wish they had this opportunity to thank you for the positive changes you were able to implement at MCPS, as well as attempting to better the opportunities for students who chose to take advantage of them. It's my extreme pleasure to present this small token to you for all you have accomplished, even in times of great challenges and adversity. Please accept this and know that you have made an impact on more than you know, and I am not sorry I voted for you that day. Thank you, Dr. Mayor, for just being you. Thank you. It is you gotta excuse my blubberingness, that's just me. You give out so many of these awards. I thought you needed one.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. King. Next speaker.
Chiara Moore.
My name is Chiara Moore. My address is 6106 Northwest 61st Street, 34482. Good evening, members of the board, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Chiara Moore, and I'm a recent graduate of the Ocala Vanguard High School. I want to start off by thanking my principal, Mr. Carlisle, for being the best principal ever, and the Vanguard staff for always teaching us to speak up and do what's right. I want to thank the Marion County Class of 2020 for uniting and standing in solidarity with Vanguard. On Monday, June 15th, I attended my long-awaited graduation ceremony at Booster Stadium, which was the 50th celebration since Vanguard became the first integrated school in Marion County. A day that was supposed to be the best day of my life turned out to be one of the worst. The night before graduation, our senior group chat lit up with a suggestion from a friend and classmate mine is that we should kneel or take seat to peacefully protest systematic racism, police brutality, and the main injustice we face as Black and brown students during the anthem. We just wanted to do something for ourselves in this transitional moment as we fight to be seen and treated as equals. Unfortunately, the superintendent used that moment to make it about her. She used that moment to be condescending and quite frankly rude, and I just wanted to address a few of her ill-prepared points during the speech, or lack thereof, that she prepared at 3:30 a.m. that morning, although she had 3 extra weeks due to COVID-19. First, she said to us that we peacefully protested and that was our Second Amendment right, and followed it by, okay. Firstly, peacefully protesting is actually our First Amendment right, and I'm quite sure she doesn't want us to have the right to bear arms in school under our zero tolerance policy. Next, she said that she was a child of a veteran, so we knew how she felt at that moment. Well, Madam Superintendent, many of us are children and grandchildren of veterans. As a matter of fact, my grandfather fought in World War II during a time he didn't even have basic civil rights. They didn't care about the uniform he wore or the fact that he risked his life for the country. When he returned, he was just another uppity Negro with money. And I could say the same for my uncles who fought in Vietnam and Desert Storm, my godfather and cousins who fought in Iraq War and War on Terrorism, and my friends who are currently serving. We are not less patriotic because we chose to use the freedom of our soldiers and who shed blood and died for it. We had a student out there whose mom fought for this country and is no longer here. She kneeled. Next, she attempted to relate to us by quoting Tupac Shakur's Pulitzer Prize-winning poem, The Rose That Grew from the Concrete. Being that that is my favorite poem, I felt that at that moment she could have used that to say how resilient we are and how we could take that resilience and be great and make a change in the world so that history won't repeat itself again. She could have used that moment to emphasize the history of Vanguard and how 50 years ago we are dealing with the same problems that we were dealing with 50 years ago. She could have used that moment to motivate us to do more than cut our neighbors' lawns. If she is still wondering why we are so offended, that's why. Then to imply that we were doing it for the cameras as if we don't fight racism every single day in our real lives. It hurt. After the 2016 election, I went to school and I was asked if I was ready to go back to Africa, and that was just one incident. If you still have questions about our peaceful protests, I will tell you why I kneeled. I kneel for my brothers who are only 14 and 16, but because they are both 6 feet tall and black, they are seen as a threat instead of children. I kneel for the black and brown men and women who are still fighting for their freedom to play video games in their living room with their nephews, Atalia Jefferson, to sell cigarettes, Eric Garner, to buy Skittles, Trayvon Martin, to play music, Jordan Davis, to reach for their license and legally hold a permit for Lindell Castile, to play cops and robbers in the park, Tamir Rice. I kneel so I can just breathe, George Floyd. I could go on, but I only have 5 minutes. During her speech, she said she was no JFK or RFK. That was the only point of her speech where I didn't cringe, because it was true. John F. Kennedy once said, "Tolerance implies no lack of commitment to one's own belief. Rather, it condemns the oppression or persecution of others." Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Ms. Narbella Haynes.
Good evening. Navella Haynes, 2916 Northwest 3rd Terrace, Ocala, Florida, 34475. Good afternoon, Chair Cummins, Co-Chair Thrower, Member King, Member Stacy, Member McCall, Attorney Green, Ms. Lopez, Superintendent Mayor. I'm here this evening to address the additional pain, hurt, and disappointment that the 2020 graduates and parents of Vanguard High School experienced on Monday, June 15, during graduation. While we are hurting and asking for healing and justice around the world because of unfairness and injustice, our seniors were ridiculed and belittled for taking a stand for the First Amendment to the Constitution because some of them chose to sit, kneel during the national anthem. Lady X, you missed the opportunity to help heal this community on your way out by lashing out at the Vanguard graduates as you have done with your staff in the past. You missed the opportunity to praise and encourage our youth who have worked so hard throughout the years to reach their first milestone in life. You missed the opportunity to praise the 36 valedictorians at Vanguard. You missed the opportunity to encourage our young adults to continue to work hard and to give back to the community to make this world a better place. I was speechless when you said you wrote your speech the early a.m. hours of the morning. But due to some of them exercising their amendment by kneeling and not standing for the national anthem, you took it personal and changed your speech. I don't know which would have been worse, the last-minute one or the one that was written hours before your personal attack. It is very hurtful for me and many others that most important day of a senior's life was tarnished with pain and hurt, with no regards for their rights. Lady X, it is your choice how you want this community to remember you as our last elected superintendent. We have not heard an apology from you regarding this matter. Even though it is late and maybe too late for some, I personally think that an apology is due. Thank you.
Miss Melissa Mihawk.
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Melissa Mihawk. I'm here as a private citizen to speak on behalf of multiple employees or former employees of Evergreen Elementary. Do I need to give my address? I'm kind of confused.
Yes.
Okay, it's 409 Durham Shore Court, Apollo Beach, Florida, 33572. I've had a mask on for quite a while. As I said, I'm here on behalf of several employees that used to work at Evergreen Elementary. Some had been there for a few years, some had been there as many as 27 years. They're all very good employees. They all have very positive evaluations, above average evaluations. In fact, they had no significant disciplinary action in their file. Each of them was taken into a room earlier this year with only a moment's notice and told them that they were not wanted at Evergreen Elementary anymore. They were not given an opportunity to explain themselves. They were not given an explanation as to why they had been chosen. They were simply escorted off of the premises. Many of them felt as if they were criminals, basically. I know you've already heard from several of them, and I know that some of you have expressed some remorse. However, nothing has been done. They're still feeling the same way that they've felt. They don't feel that anything has been done to make this situation better, and that is why I'm here to call on each of you to do something, take some type of positive action in order to make them feel vindicated, because they do not feel vindicated at this point. As I mentioned, they were taken into the room. There was many people in the room. Many of them were very intimidated. They felt as if they were being harassed. They had no idea what was going on. Some felt that their family members were in danger. They were given a few moments to decide what school they were going to go to. A few of them were given a couple of different choices to transfer. Some were simply told, you are going to be transferred to this school. Basically, take it or leave it. These are your options. Some of them had been taken out by armed police officers. Some were escorted off by other people, but either way, they were embarrassed in front of their friends, their coworkers, parents, students, and it was completely uncalled for. I understand it was conducted pursuant to an independent audit, but that didn't have to be done the way that it was done. And that's really where we're at now, is that it shouldn't have been done in that manner. I don't think any thought was given to their service or how they might feel. And some of these people were paraprofessionals, others were guidance counselors, others were secretaries. Some of these people had nothing to do whatsoever with the school grade. And I understand that this audit was based upon a school grade, and that's why these people were supposedly transferred. But if they had absolutely no impact on the school grade, I don't see how that they could be selected to be transferred. The one common trait of each of these individuals is that they're all African American. And to this day, the district has not provided a single piece of documentation as to why these particular individuals were chosen, which leads me and many others to believe that the only reason they were chosen is because of the color of their skin. I have repeatedly asked the district to provide me with documentation. They've claimed that there is nothing. So this independent auditor apparently just chose whoever she wanted with no documentation whatsoever. And I can tell you that I've requested all of their personnel files. I've gone through all of them. There's nothing in any of these people's personnel files that would cause them to be selected for this horrible transfer. So I'm calling again on each of you as board members of the superintendent or anybody that's in this room who has the authority to do so, to do something to make it right, because it's not right, and I think it's time for them to be made whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mihawk. Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the 2020-2021 Marion County Public Schools Mental Health Plan in compliance with Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Safety Act?
So moved.
Moved by Ms.
Second.
Call, second by Ms. Thrower. Superintendent.
The Comprehensive Mental Health Plan is in compliance with Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Safety Act, Chapter 2018-3, Laws of Florida.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the comprehensive school mental health plan? Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. May I have a motion to adopt the revisions to the 2019-2020 Code of Student Conduct for the 2020-2021 school year?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. King.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Thrower.
The revised 2019-2020 Code of Student Conduct for the 2020-2021 school year complies with board policy and Florida statutes.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the revised 2019-2020 Code of Student Conduct for the 2020-2021 school year? There being none, All in favor signify by aye.
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 May I have a motion to approve consent agenda item C 7.1-C 20.3 with the exception of item D 22.1, C 10.14, and C 10.15 that has been placed under discussion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Throer,
Second.
seconded by Ms. King. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve the cooperative agreement between the Florida Department of Education and the School Board of Marion County, Florida for Fiddler Springs Associate Center? This is a discussion item for cause, I'm sorry. Moved by Ms. King, second by Ms. McCall. Okay, so there's, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. May I have a motion to approve the Second Amendment to agreement with Renaissance Learning for accelerated AR for individual schools, school year 2020-2021?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall, seconded by Ms. King. Ms. Thor, I understand you pulled this item and wish to have additional discussion.
Yes, this are one of two items that I pulled, this one being one of our reading programs, and I'd like to make a motion to table the vote until the next board meeting. And here's why. If this is approved tonight, then the contract will be effective June 30th, which is the day before our new superintendent begins. And we're looking at a $315,000 item, and it would seem respectful to have the new superintendent have the ability to, or the opportunity to research it and decide whether or not this is something that she would like to continue on with. And this would not create any disruption to any online reading challenges or programs that we're currently working on with students this summer, because that was a concern of mine. But we've been assured by Renaissance that the services will continue uninterrupted through the summer and into the beginning of next school year. So I don't really see any downside. In fact, I see a lot of upside to just going ahead and tabling this until our next meeting in July, when our new superintendent is on board and has a chance to review it.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
If I recall, wasn't that placed on there because schools had the option to use it and they had their own money and stuff? So I'm comfortable moving forward because it's not district-wide. It's what the schools were using, is what the teachers were using. I know they fought for it a few years back, and I mean, I'm comfortable, but if you want to, as long as there's no interruption between then, because nothing is worse than beginning of a school year and they don't have access to this program they've been using and want to use.
Absolutely, and in my research, it was interesting, and I think this is typical. It depends on the school and the school population. Some of them are very invested in AR and were crushed when it was pulled 4 years ago, and they found a way now to have it back. So I would never do anything to jeopardize that. I just feel like with the contract beginning June 30th and our new superintendent literally starting the next day, and there would not be any disruption in service, that it would be good for her, respectfully, you know, to have the opportunity to weigh in on a $300,000 decision.
But it's the schools.
Well, this actually, for the accelerated reader that we're talking about now, what you're saying pertains.
I'm
to
sorry,
my-
$315,000.
Yeah, what you're saying really pertains to Mihawk. With the accelerated reader, it's not that the district is entering into that contract. It's that we are authorizing purchases if schools wish to. And again, this goes back to what Ms. King said, is these are school-based purchases if they want the accelerated reader. Now, and I know you'll get to the Mihawk in a minute, but what you just said pertains to Mihawk, it does. But for accelerated reader, this just opens the door for schools to individually purchase if they wish.
So basically, this is giving them permission to go ahead and
Yes.
purchase.
And it
Gives
is
them autonomy too. I think,
Yeah.
I'm comfortable doing
Especially
this.
since we don't have another board meeting for a while.
Correct.
And I too am comfortable since it is an individual school choice issue.
And I do agree with that. I'm less concerned about this one, truthfully, than the other, but I did want to bring it forward again because the timing is just literally the next day, and there really was no downside to waiting until our next school board meeting, and I have that assurance in writing. But I'm fine either way. I just wanted to bring it up.
Ms. Rowe, what would be the benefit of us waiting to July 28th, other than just giving the courtesy to Dr. Gullett? I mean, is it going to change the price or anything like that?
No, it will not change the price, and the way the contract is written, it would not change the independence of schools to use this if they would like to continue to. Again, it is important for our incoming superintendent to have the ability to look into two of our most important, that have been our most important reading platforms. So the timing of it was of concern to me more than anything else with the AR. So I just wanted to bring it forward to discuss.
Ms. Stacy?
There was a lot, before you came onto the board, we had tremendous discussion about this.
I remember.
And a lot of research was done as to how effective it is. And I did speak to a couple of districts, and one I did speak to was St. John's, the #1 district at the time, and I asked them how they handled AR. And the head of curriculum there really is not a fan of AR, but she said in their district, they don't pay anything for it at the district level. And if the schools want to use it, then they can get it, which is a good way to do it, because if they're vested in it, they're going to use it. And what was happening at our district level when we were providing it for everyone, if the school didn't invest in it, then they weren't really properly using it with fidelity, and it was kind of just, maybe it just didn't work for their school. And so now the schools that are buying it know if they're putting their school dollars into it, they've had a lot of discussion about it, and they know they need to use it or it might not come back next year, and they really do like the program. And so I'm comfortable with moving forward because it is something that is kind of like the teachers do it in a group, and it's one of the things that they can make a decision on. And if you're behind something, you can really like get the most out of it. And so I like the fact that during this period, we did turn it over to the schools and let them decide. And I don't want to snatch that out from under them, because that was our decision that we made.
Right. And that was smart, and I agree with that piece 100%. Teachers need the autonomy, and principals need the autonomy. So on that, we're in total agreement.
And I can see your point, Ms. Thrower, to look at it, because it is a large expenditure, but it's kind of a horse that's left the barn. We kind of went through this before, and I'm very comfortable with it now.
Okay. Any more discussion? So all in favor of the motion that's on the floor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. May I have a motion to approve the Third Amendment to agreement with Renaissance Learning for Mayan?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall. Second. Seconded by Ms. King. Ms. Thor, I understand you pulled this item as well.
Yes, I did, and this one is fundamentally different because it is for the whole district, and it is $300,000. And that is, again, why I'd like to make a motion to table it till the next board meeting so that Dr. Gullett has a chance to review it. If it's approved tonight, the contract will be effective June 30th, the day before Dr. Gullett begins.
I agree 100% with that with Mayan. She may have something that she feels would be better for our
And
district.
I'm comfortable with.
So I agree with you, Ms. Thrower.
I do too.
And I respect that, but just to clarify, the quote is actually for $188,100, and that's the package, and that would include all elementary schools, and we even added Horizon and Hillcrest for that. The extra would be opening in its legal language, but opening the door for different schools to buy extra packages, because there's like Myon News and extra things that schools buy. So the $300,000 in total wasn't a purchase. It's just the $188,100 is the purchase. And then it opens the door up to $300,000 for schools to choose to buy the extra packages. And again, the quote of $188,100 was for all elementary, including Horizon, with their fifth grade, and then also Hillcrest.
And $300,000 is the limit. So that means that's how much we would be approving tonight, not the lesser amount of money. And as far as Hillcrest is concerned, this would be a first for them. And there is concern that about the age appropriateness of the content, because we have 18-year-olds that are reading on a kindergarten level, and that would require different content than would be typical for someone kindergarten age. And there has yet to be any training for Hillcrest, so it really, we don't know yet how that's going to be for them. And again, this is something that an expert in curriculum and instruction should have a chance to review.
I agree, 100%.
You move to table.
I move to table to the next board meeting. I don't want this to linger.
Next board meeting
So
is,
we're moving to date certain, July 28th.
Yes.
I second it.
so it's, okay, it was moved by Ms. Thorough, seconded by Ms. King. All in favor of tabling this discussion till the 28th, signify by aye.
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve the following cash or tangible donations that have a total value of $4,500. $1,500 to Bellevue Middle School from Walmart Community Gives Back. $1,000 to Lakewood High School from Marion Soil and Water Conservation District. $1,000 to Madison Street Academy from Walmart number 1847. $1,000 to Marion Technical Institute from Walmart.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. McCall,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Thorough. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
It's approved. Ms. McCall, can you give us?
Certainly, again, we want to thank our business community and individuals that continue to support our school system. The things that you give them, the resources that you give them, allow them to do those special projects. So thank you very much.
The next regular administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for July 16, 2020 at 9:00 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss Osceola Middle School and North Marion High School cafeteria updates and school planning update, 5-year work plan draft. The following administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for August 6, 2020 at 9 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss budget, general fund, 1 of 3. We're at the end. Ms. Elena Martinez Lopez, any comments?
No, the only thing is, don't forget to do your disclosure form, your financial disclosure form, and get that turned in. That's it, that's all I have.
Attorney Green?
I have nothing, thank you.
Dr. Mayor?
Thank you, yes. So a reminder that next week is 4th of July holiday, so the district will be closed on Thursday for the 4th of July holiday. Friday is the regular closing because we're on the 4-day weeks, and then 4th of July is that weekend. So for folks out there who need to contact anybody, please keep that in mind. And of course, we'll have out of office on for everybody. A huge thank you to the team that made graduation last week possible. So under the organizational umbrella of Mr. McAteer, our Director of Secondary Ed, these graduations happened. And a huge thank you to him. And I know he'll be humble and say it was the team, and it was, but he got them all organized. So Mr. McAteer, Ms. Kynard, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Whitehouse, Ms. Leeds, and our TV production team were at every graduation. And I mean, Mr. McAteer and his folks, they were out there setting up the chairs. They had string. It was a running joke about the string. You'll have to ask Ms. Kynard about that. She tells the joke much better than I do. But getting the string to make sure everything was level and organized and 6 feet apart and all of that. And our custodial team, superheroes from both district level and each school, stepped up to make sure all the chairs were there and everything was ready for these celebrations. And also, we had help from our Ocala Police Department and our Marion County Sheriff's Office. And a huge thank you to Juan Ocasio from our Marion County Sheriff's Office. They really went above and beyond to organize everything, right down to traffic and getting folks in and out seamlessly. So thank you. And we also appreciate all the families who persevered through all of that. And also, graduations were held at Marion Technical College, and Mr. Kelly had 8 graduations in one day there, and so that each group could be honored and take part in that. And just another shout out to Ms. Johnson and her food service team. Over 5,000 meals were served again today through the summer feeding program, and her team just hasn't stopped for months, so we thank her as well. And another huge shout out to just everybody in our district, this district team, who has done so much to improve not only test scores, we say, of course, the test scores, and we know what would have been this year, but so much more has been achieved, and our kids are learning and doing and understanding at levels never before. So forever grateful to the fine group of folks here in Marion County Public Schools. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mayor. Ms. McCall?
Yes, a couple of things. I too want to thank the graduation staff. I attended Forest High School and Bellevue High School. Principal Guest and Principal Brown did a wonderful job, and the students were very respectful, and it went incredibly well. So thank you to everybody. We have a scheduled workshop on July 7th, a special called workshop, correct, Elena? Yes. Yesterday at our task force meeting, Mr. Vianello asked me if we could possibly move that to the afternoon. There is a meet and greet for Dr. Gullett that morning with administrators and principals. So I said I would bring that up. So if we could have our workshop that afternoon instead of in the morning, because Dr. Gullett will be with them. And the other thing about that workshop, we're all working diligently with our committees on the task force. And we probably need to have some discussion around that workshop to come to some type of consensus so we can begin to get a message out to our parents. So I know the scheduling committee would like to move forward as quickly as possible. The videos that we'll be making, parents have to make choices, so I think it might be a good idea at that workshop to also have that discussion on what those options will be so we can begin to get the message out. Because August 10th is right around the corner. We have to give parents time to decide if they want their students in school or distance learning. The discussion at the scheduling meeting yesterday was that principals are planning on having very early orientations to get parents into the schools to make sure that they're comfortable with what they want to do. So I really feel like time is definitely of the essence here. So if we could also add that to the agenda to at least come to consensus on the options.
So, moving that, keeping it the same date for July 7th, but moving it to the afternoon. Are you guys in agreement with that?
I think we don't want to push it any
Yeah, I
farther
think,
out.
because from my understanding, we need to have a plan, submitted by the end of this month.
Right.
That was the deal. June 30th, wasn't it?
For the funding.
For the
so-
CARES Act.
There's
yeah.
that.
And we had scheduled this work session originally to talk more about the 2 days off of
No.
school, right?
No.
And only if we needed it?
No, that's a different date.
What
No,
was
that
that
is
date?
July
That is.
That is.
July
Oh,
7th
okay.
is Wesley
Yeah.
Wilkins at 9 a.m.
Oh,
And
no.
So we have to have the plan in by next week.
Okay.
yeah, so I'm fine with meeting about the reopening, but I was hopeful that we might have some feedback regarding
You
the
will. I'm going to give it to you in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, good, because
So,
Oh,
and
can we move that to that afternoon? What's a good time for you guys? After 12?
What day of the week is it?
It's Tuesday.
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 What time is the meet and greet?
Early in the
Morning,
morning. It starts at
breakfast.
7:30. It's a breakfast, but it's going to go on into the morning some.
Okay.
Go on to when?
On into the
Into the morning.
hours, the morning
Yeah.
hours. So 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock's fine with me.
So what will be the topic so I can advertise appropriately? What is the topic we're going to be discussing?
Scheduling? Was it scheduling?
School
Well,
reopening.
The
School
school
reopening.
reopening,
School reopening.
yeah.
All right.
School reopening. Okay.
And then the only other thing is, Dr. Mayor, I want to thank you for your service to our school district. Thank you. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. McCall. Ms. Stacy?
You know, I don't really have a lot to say, except I have read some very credible papers that have been written about the fact that probably we shouldn't have sent all these kids home, that it probably was not the smart thing to do, because it's caused the gap, Ms. McCall, to be just extremely huge, and that the damage to the students in that way has been so much more than anything else. I was looking at the statistics of like teen deaths in just car accidents in the state of Florida. A child is 30,000% more apt to die in a car accident than with COVID in the state of Florida. So we're just going to ban cars. I mean, there comes a point where we can't run from the wind. The wind is there, and I hope that we make a plan. I'm getting constant parents wanting their kids to come back to school, and I'm hoping that, you know, this will be the way that it flies. I have spoken to teachers who are concerned and talked about the mask that, you know, that they'd like to wear. That's a really good, y'all have a name for them, the P something, I don't know, mask that's really, does a really good job. And I can see, you know, that being a possibility for people who need that. But in the state of Florida, the chances of a child getting struck by lightning is greater than a child dying from COVID. And so I would really like to see our schools let's just get them back to where they need to be. And Dr. Muir, I'd also like to thank you for your service. You know, I think that our district is just so large, and for many years, it's just been getting harder and harder to kind of manage with 2 elected bodies. And regardless of, not for anything to be taken for anyone to take anything personally, it was just time to move to a different way, an appointed superintendent, especially since there's only one large district now in the nation that is even under the elected. And so I want you to know that this was something long before you even ran for office. This was my agenda as a school board member, to move to the appointed superintendent, because it's just the best way to run an operation this large. And so, but I want to thank you for your service as the last elected superintendent. How many districts in Florida, 3 or 4, went the same direction that were even smaller than us? So, but thank you for your time here, and we'll be forever appreciative of that. And as we move forward with just a new way that's kind of like the way of the nation. And so I'm happy as a school board member. That was my agenda for when I came on the board, that was my agenda. And I'm glad that I retire from the board with an appointed superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stacy. Ms. King?
Yes, I would like to congratulate the class of 2020. You guys have proven that you are dedicated, you're smart, you're resourceful, you're resilient, you're problem solvers, and I just wish you well in the rest of your life. And speaking of, you know, students come back into school, there is a task force right now. I haven't been in many except for the reopening, but I'm going to tell you, these people are amazing, and people are working hard and diligently for the reopening. And so for looking at the classrooms, they're exploring brick and mortar, distance, maybe even blended, because, you know, just depending, but they're already planning and they're prepared. I am on the reopening task force, and again, I'm with some smart people that are just, they're thinking of everything, and then we'll talk, and then we start thinking of, or they do, or we do think about different avenues and things, or we saw what took place this past year, what worked, what didn't work. And so I do want our parents and our students and our teachers, our employees, everyone to know that there is some planning taken as we speak. Actually, I was on a meeting until I think 4:30, and they were still going, and I was like, I gotta go. So it is taking place, and that's great news. And I will just end with, I would like to wish Dr. Mayer well on her new endeavor and wherever that takes you.
Thank you, Ms. King. Ms. Thoreau?
Yes, thank you for your service, Dr. Mayer, and I especially appreciate you being such a champion for Hillcrest School. We collaborated on several projects, and they all turned to gold, so thank you very much for that. And yes, class of 2020, oh my. I think this is going to be a year that all of us will absolutely never, ever forget. We will remember where we were, we will remember what was happening, we'll remember the laughter, the sadness, and everything in between. So congratulations to all. And I had the pleasure of attending North Marion's graduation and also Vanguard's graduation. Hillcrest, I believe, is saving their graduation until August, so I'll look forward to attending that one. It's always good to go back home. I started my career at North Marion High, and it was wonderful to go back up there. I don't get up there as much as I used to, and when I do, I continue to be impressed at how great that little old school looks. Cowpatty High has never looked better. I remember the days of the fly strips hanging in the cafeteria all over the place, and let me tell you something, they caught a lot of flies. And the courtyard was dirt, and it was all portables out to the front, and now it is just so together and so beautiful. And a common theme I think I'm hearing from all of the board members was just how well organized and beautiful the ceremonies were, and how joyful, and how everyone came together at that time, to truly celebrate. And North Marion was definitely part of that all the way. And Vanguard's was very special too. I think we heard earlier tonight that it was Vanguard's 50th anniversary and 50th graduating class since its integration back in 1969. And to the graduates, that may sound like ancient history, but to some of us, that wasn't very long ago.
That's the year I graduated high school.
That's the year you graduated high school.
That's the year I was born.
That's the year you were born.
I wasn't even here yet. I was not here yet.
You're on the way.
That's it, that's it. So we remember, and it is just amazing how far we have come and how far we still have yet to go. Vanguard has many legacy students, and these students come from a long line of Howard High and Vanguard graduates. That's the same at North Marion as well, and really in most of our high schools, I would say, but it's a deeply rooted family history, and I just think that's really, really great. Vanguard was built in some hard times. After the Civil Rights Act of 1968, it was definitely a tumultuous time. And I just sit here as I reflect upon the past week and this past year. I'm recommitting myself to not allowing history to repeat itself again in the next 50 years, and to continue teaching our youth by our own examples to be loving, caring, and empathetic to the struggles of all people, whether they look like me or not. We all have challenges, and this is universal, and this is what will continue to bring us together. So it's been really an incredible journey this year. I'm very much looking forward to the future. I think we're well positioned to just take it to the next level. So those of you that have some time off this summer, enjoy it, do what you love, be peaceful and be open. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Thoreau. I want to thank all of our speakers that came out tonight and expressed themselves tonight, but I also want to to congratulate the class of 2020 on so many graduations from MTC to MTI to all the way to the last one, which was yesterday, which was in Dunellen. The team that was able to move chairs and do the social distancing and making sure that everything was in place, to the production team, to everyone that made these kids' graduations as special as it could be in light of all that we're dealing with pandemics and everything like that. Only thing I request, Mr. McAtee, if you're listening, we need some type of shade thing over the podium, because it was hot, and it was extremely hot, but it was truly a wonderful time. I'm sure there's a bunch of pictures with me standing like this trying to shield the sun, but it was truly it's always great to see kids hit one level and spring into the next level, and that's what I saw. I saw so much potential. I want to encourage these graduates of 2020 to continue to persevere, to continue to endure, and to continue to let their voices be heard. You are a new generation, a different generation, and there's greatness within you guys, so I encourage you to continue to do that as well. I did meet with Wesley Wilcox yesterday. Mr. Ayers and myself, we did meet with Mr. Wilcox, Supervisor of Election, and because of the executive order that required us to use schools for elections and polling places. However, Mr. Wilcox did not want to use schools.
Thank you,
However, now he didn't want to use the schools. It's because it's too many moving pieces. However, he did request that he needs 35 of our staff members to work the polls and to go through the training and stuff like that. So we're going to help him in that aspect. So it's a toss-up. 2 days or give him 35 employees. I think we need to keep it.
As long as they're not instructional and in the classroom.
No. They'll be district employees.
Okay.
District employees. They're not
Volunteers.
Yeah.
I don't think as elected officials we can work polls, can we?
No, we can't.
Because otherwise I would volunteer.
Right. So we're going to work that out and making sure that they get the people. So we're district employees. We need 35 volunteers to work.
Does it have to be district employees, or can it just be from our community? Like 35 members of our community that are not employees working?
Because it sounds like he needs people.
He needed 35 of our folks.
So they have to be in the school system?
Well, that was just change off versus using our schools. So I'm sure he can get that.
Okay.
But, and they'll be compensated. They'll be compensated for it. So if you want to get in contact with Mr. Ayers, he'll know, those who want to do it.
Okay, but the good news is we don't have to change the instructional
We don't
calendar.
have to change the calendar. We don't have to shut down
We'll
schools.
be in school on those days.
We don't have to do anything like that. And voting he's expecting this to be a huge voting season with the primaries and the general election. So that is taken care of. So we won't, we still would need that meeting because we're moving
A reopening.
Yes.
July 7th.
And I'll just change the time.
So we'll change the time and the purpose of the, and with the school reopening plan, we have, you're right, Ms. King, Ms. McCall, you guys, those groups that are working on the school reopening plan, we're hitting it from different aspects. I think all of us are working on one of those committees. It is tedious, but we have some smart people in our district who are making some great strides in getting this plan together. Parents know that every decision that's being made is for the best of everybody, kids, staff, everybody. The parents, everything is being taken into consideration. So we're looking forward to getting that plan out in the parents' hands so they'll know what to expect. We don't want the first day of school to be a surprise to anybody. We want to make sure that we've communicated it out to the public in enough time so that everybody's prepared and know what to expect. So they are working on doing that. And I'm just happy to see where we've moved to as far as the planning for August opening. Was it August 10th, August 11th?
August 10th.
August 10th. So we are on schedule to making sure that school reopens August 10th. You said it right, Ms. Stacy. We do need to get these kids back in front of people. We don't need to keep having them out. We just need to make sure when we get them back in front of people, we do it as safe as we can. It's time. They've been on a long vacation. We don't want to continue a slide downward. We don't want to continue to slide downward. Dr. Mayor, I want to thank you for all that you've done. I didn't have the pleasure to be with you for 4 years, just the last 2, 1.5 actually. But thank you. Your flair is there. Your flair is there, and we wish you well in your next endeavors in life. And I know that God has you, and He will take care of you in that. And one of the things I thought about when I kept looking at graduation, I saw potential and promise in these kids, in all of our kids. I saw the promises of things that I heard when I was a kid growing up, and I saw that some of those things are coming to fruition in some of these kids that I look at graduating, and I see so much potential that this world is changing right before our eyes and right in our face. And these kids, every time I think about what I saw in these graduations, is that these kids are challenging us, older generations, to change. They're challenging us to do better. They challenge our community to do better. They're challenging our county to do better. They're challenging the school system to do better. They're challenging the state and the nation to do better. And I accept the challenge to make sure that we will do better. I accept the challenge that every day has to be about making the next day better than the day before. And I want to thank the class of 2020 for that challenge, because these kids are resilient. They have endured some tough stuff, and they are the more stronger, not weaker, because of all that they've gone through. So I want to encourage them to continue to do what they're doing and continue to challenge us older folk who you think don't listen, who you think don't get it. We get it. We got it. We're getting it. So I encourage challenging. Yes, ma'am.
I'll say one more thing that I just totally failed to mention because of what you just brought up. It spurred my memory. I am working with some parents. I have spoken to some minority parents that have been in touch with me about, and I will be getting with Dr. Gullick. I am putting a team of parents together and so anyone out there that's listening to this, my phone is in the, you can text me, you can call me, you can send me an email, you can go to the Marion County School Board website and you can get my phone number. I will be putting a parent organization together for moving forward, where parents can talk to parents and help move things in a little different direction with communication. Because until we come together and we talk and parents can share their feelings, there's so many minority parents that everyone knows. I'm the person that has just complained and complained and complained about the inadequate schools serving our minority children that's gone on for so many years. And in Baltimore, they don't even have a single student that's even proficient because of the school system. It's just destroying children. And it's time that all children receive a top-notch education. And I'm excited about teaching minority parents particularly, and poor parents, poor white parents, people who maybe just aren't the parents that have the time to be with us and talk to us, and friends that we have, that these people that we don't know, that can help the parents navigate the school system. Because navigating the school system is where it's all about. I remember as a parent, I was an activist in those days, and I had a principal one time I went in to talk to the principal about something, and I won't even say what school I was at, and the principal at the time, it was many years ago, probably early 90s, and that was when I saw a real problem. She had gone from AP to principal, and she didn't really know who I was. She didn't know I was an activist. She wasn't in the political circles in the early 90s. And she looked at me when I asked her this question about a simple little change at the school to make things run a little better. And I remember her looking at me and folding her arms, and finally, and she had no answer to my question or my problem, but she folded her arms and she said, "Mrs. Stacy, you're the first parent that's ever asked me a question like that. Asked me anything like that." And I looked at her and I said, "That is Administration 101. Tell the parent that nobody else thinks like her so that she'll go away. Except this parent was ready for that." I'd like to share with you, there's two parents, I've already talked to them, they're outside in the hallway, waiting to see what conclusion we come to when I talk to you, because they were in here talking to you about the same thing a couple of days ago. It was at that moment that I realized, if a parent comes before the school system, and especially a minority parent or poor parent who's not in a lot of the loops and circles because they work so hard, they maybe don't have transportation to come to some of the events and things, and an administrator looks at that parent and she says, or he says, "You're the first parent that's ever complained about that." That minority or that poor mom who's respectful and has just been told that she's really a dumb parent, she's asking dumb questions and she really needs to go away, that parent is going to leave, never come back to that school again until her child is in the legal system because of that feeling. And I want to help parents understand that there are different levels and different options and different people to speak to. Start with your teacher, then go to your principal, move to your superintendent, and come before the school board. There are ways for them to communicate their issues. And because I've been in this so long, as an education activist, helping many, many minority parents with their issues in the school with their children over the years, it's probably the largest group that I did serve as a parent activist were minority parents coming to the school system and trying to help their children. I'm excited to put a group of parents together, get it started, and maybe after I retire, I'll have my little committee, or I'll volunteer for Dr. Gulick to bring this group together and maybe get a root core of parents, and then maybe establish parent groups at each school with a core group where parents have someone that they can talk to that wants to hear their heart. And so I will be, I'm already putting my parents together, so anybody out there that wants to join up with me, please contact me, and I will be talking to Dr. Gulick about how to set this in place.
Thank you, Ms. Stacy. So you kind of was going into the end of what I was about to say. When I said that we heard the kids, that we're getting better, we're going to get better. One of the things that I have been talking to leaders in our district about is dealing with the tough issues that this school district has to deal with in regards to race, ethnicity, sensitivity. I am going to be hoping that Dr. Gullett, Dr. Mayor, as she's leaving, and our new administration will look into doing some diversity and sensitivity training before staff, because the issue that you just addressed is if the parent doesn't know how to navigate it, but the bigger issue is the person that they were talking to didn't understand what they were saying when they dismissed that person. So there's many levels of this, and we as a district want to be proactive in making sure that we're moving in the right direction on things and being sensitive with this. When these kids come back to school in August, this is not the same group of kids that would have went to spring break and came back a week later. This is a different group of kids that's coming back, and we're going to have to address some real issues. They've seen a lot, they've experienced a lot, and we're going to have to be prepared. And the group of people that's going to be before them have to be properly prepared and trained on how to deal with the tough issues that's going to be facing them when they start school on August 10th. So I've talked to Mr. Villanello, Dr. Gullett, and others on how we need to address this. I even asked them to kind of put it in this reopening plan because we need to address it. We don't want to get caught with our pants around our ankles on August 10th.
It's all about education.
Yes, ma'am. So again, we thank you again, Dr. Mayor. Best wishes. If you need us, call us, text us, send a smoke signal or something. But we wish you well as we go forward. Okay. I wish we have alternative student disciplinary matters. I wish to acknowledge that board members present have received alternative placement lists for students through June 3rd, 2020. Ms. Martinez Lopez, are there any parents who have submitted a timely request to speak on their child's disciplinary matter?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I already have a volunteer.
Missing a page.
No, that's just because they're alternately placed. We don't have any exposure.
Okay, so we don't have any.
We're good, yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought there was one. Okay, there being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. King,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Throer. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 6:49 PM.